What is going on, everybody? Good to be back for another NBA season. I'm really pumped up for this one. I'm excited. It's baseball gets a little tedious at the very end, and football. I've been gone for weddings and bachelor parties, and then I'm in Idaho, and then I'm going to be in Idaho again. So time to focus on NBA. Ready to get into it. Excited to have the first day of the year. It's always a shame to have the two-gamer. I will say that 2 out of the last 3 years, I won a big tournament on the first day. So maybe there's something to getting a little weird in some spots, and that's usually what it takes. It's just about 1 or 2 spots in basketball, and that goes for small and large slates as well. There's a bunch of guys that are going to just be very, very questionable looking plays that have upside. And you look at guys like, look, I'm not saying like a guy like Westbrook is a good play, but in the nature of the slate at this price, it's really hard to justify it. But that's how everybody else feels too. And could he score with the second unit? Could Anthony Davis go down with an injury and him end up? Can he play really well with the second unit? End up closing the game and having 50 fantasy points or 45? That's on the table. Jonathan Kuminga could have a big role off the bench, especially if it's a blowout. In fact, you could say Kuminga and Westbrook would even go together in that. I think DeAnthony Melton has upside, and he's not going to be played much. So there's a lot of guys. Those are the really, really weird ones. The only superstar who won't be played much is Steph Curry. And this matchup with the Lakers could be a really good one for him. I don't currently have that much of him, but I am going to consider it. Oh, Sheets is in. So what's up, Sheets? What's up to Rich B and Anth in the chat? And let's get into it. Sheets, what's going on?
Yeah, I got to figure out how I'm going to be able to handle all the stuff I need to do. I mean, especially on days like this. I literally just got back like 5 minutes ago. Okay. And just my schedule for today. And I have to, I'm updating the NBA projections. I also have to update the hockey projections. So I'm a little bit behind. Is there any been big news in the NBA since this morning about anybody out or anything?
No real news since this morning.
Well, one bit of good news is that the Yankees are looking like they're in good shape.
Yeah, that's true. I know it's a big game right there. It's going to be a lot more basketball talk right off from the get-go going forward, guys, for me at least anyway, because I know it's going to, like tomorrow, it's going to be a big slate. On these little slates, there's not a whole lot of decisions to be made. It's sort of this is a borderline showdown-ish type of slate. So I think it's really important. Like what I'm doing in general is basically I have a couple of Steph lineups that I'm going to force in because the low ownership is going to drive me there. But in general, I'm mostly going to be skipping basically all the Warriors except for the bench. Those
that makes sense.
Warriors I'm going with, really, yeah.
And I think. And did you? I overheard you mention Kuminga. Is that? I won't say your favorite, but that's someone you're going to want exposure to in the.
Like the thing is, I really don't need it because he makes no sense at his price point. But the problem is, like the low ownership is just a force him in kind of a thing. Like he's projected to be 1% owned.
Okay.
That's both on your projections. He's a little higher. Westbrook's a little higher. SS has him.
I haven't done them yet, so we'll see. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, well, okay, but from before, I just think that there's a chance that Westbrook and him, and so I'm going to force in some Westbrook lineups. Look, it doesn't feel right, but you're going to have to do something that doesn't feel right to try to get off the board a little bit. And Steph Curry's another one that's not going to be high owned. He's like the one star who won't be high owned tonight. Everybody else is going to have 25+% or more of ownership. So my actual favorites in my builds, I think that the Horford thing is fadeable. I think Anthony Davis is fadeable. I think they're both good plays, but at 65-70% ownership, I don't think it's a must. You must. Draymond feels too cheap. I think Draymond is not a must. So being lower than the field on those guys and being overweight, even the next most popular guys like Beverly. I'll probably be below the field on White. I'll probably be right near the field on Brogdon. I'll be above the field on Maxey. I'll be above the field on LeBron. But I'm going to try to take just the most popular guys and build without them and make LeBron and Embiid my priority. Build around with some Harden. And that's sort of the route I'm going to go. I think Harden's actually going to be lower owned on DK than I don't want to say he should be, but then he could be. So I like the idea of getting some exposure there. And it's just at the price that Kuminga is, with all the other guys in that price range, just no one's going to play either he or Melton. And I think getting those guys into a pretty chalky lineup is a way you can hope to chop a tournament or something. You know what I mean?
I think I'm gonna game log chase and play a decent amount of that Reeves guy.
Go for 74 again on the opening night.
Yeah, I don't even need that. Even 64 would be fine.
Even 64, you're good with it.
Yeah.
Rich, that's a really bizarre question to answer. Is he not a good DFS play anymore? You say his role changed a bit. Steph Curry was basically the exact same player last year that he's always been, except for, I mean, he missed more shots, and overall he got the same result. Like, they won the title. I don't know. I don't agree that his role changed. I don't know what that even would mean in relation to. They've had the same team together, so I don't know what that. He's always going to be a worse play if you want a median score compared to the other guys who are priced the same as him. If that's tonight, but that doesn't mean he's going to stay at that price. And he's going to always be a tremendous GPP play when he's unowned, because he can put up 60 real life points in a game. He can make 12 threes in a game. There's certain nights you're going to absolutely need to have him. But yeah, they're probably going to be 1 out of 10. So in general, compared to these other guys, he's always going to be a little bit of a worse play because of his median score. They don't need him to run the offense. He's gonna get you there by scoring mostly. You'll get a couple steals here and there from him. Every now and then he'll have a big rebound game. He does get assists still as well, but it's just with Draymond running things through there. There's some ISOs they run for Clay. Moody and Poole will get more looks. So yeah, I just don't know how to answer the question. It's too broad of a question for me.
I just updated the projections, and as you suspected, there's not that much has changed. I still have Kendrick Nunn as the best point per dollar play. I still have his ownership like really high. I have Horford the next best, that his ownership is really high. Trying to think if there's anybody that even the slightest bit lower owned. And one guy I spoke about, Austin Reeves, I only have him at 20% ownership. What about I asked you about this guy earlier. I guess it's just I'm fishing here, but I asked Lonnie Walker. You don't think he's going to be a part of this, right?
No, of course he is.
Oh, I asked you if they're going to try to like develop Lonnie Walker.
They're not going to try to develop anybody. They're going to play through LeBron and Anthony Davis.
Okay.
So they're not, the Lakers are not in the business of developing anybody anymore. So it's just a matter of, will he just get older and better, or what? I mean, I don't know. He's the same as he was last year, and last year he was basically the same type of situation where he's at best the third option, at worst the fifth or sixth best option on his team, which is sort of what he was in San Antonio. So I don't see him as being a whole lot different. Do I think he's probably, excited to play in LA? Sure. I don't know. I mean, they certainly aren't going to try to develop him in any. I mean, there's nothing to develop. He is what he is, in my opinion, at this point.
Right.
But I think he's got a higher ceiling, but he's just not going to have a chance to show that on a team where, but he's like, I mean, I don't think he's going to be unowned. I think he's going to be really popular, right?
I have him like 20%.
That's lower than, would have thought, but.
What, and all these guys are in, right? Well, not in, but Malcolm Brogdon we're expecting to play.
Expecting him to, yeah.
Okay.
Not expecting him to start.
Okay.
But for whatever that's worth. And I really like the, it could be him starting over White. I'd like to see the starting lineups. I'm a little bit weirded out that they don't release them this early even. Let's see if I missed it. 70. I don't see. Starting lineup.
Maybe the Indians should have started Bieber.
I don't understand why they didn't. They had the opportunity to.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was a little surprised by that. Yeah, we don't really have a starting lineup for them yet. I just don't like this. You know what I mean? Because it's opening night, and yes, we can pretty much guess the Celtics are going to have either White or Brogdon starting, and everybody else we know. We think we know. I think we know. Philly, you would imagine it would just be the normal Harden Tucker, but it doesn't need to be. Yeah, it'll be Tucker. That's what it'll be. So it's really just the White and Brogdon thing. But even that, I think it's going to be Brogdon. They made it pretty clear that was what they were going to do before. I just thought, I don't know. It seemed a little. I could see it going either way, but I know it's supposed to be Brogdon. I mean, it's supposed to be White who starts. Thanks, Rich. I'm glad, because I wasn't trying to be. I'm just trying to figure out how to answer. So in some ways, like the best thing, what I would say about Steph Curry is what he always is he's on large slates the best GPP play, because he's always the lowest owned for good reason. But when he gets there, he crushes the other guys usually who are in his price range, as long as he's in the 9K range. And for what it's worth, it should be a pretty high scoring night for that. I missed Banks's question. Oh, power forward. I didn't say I was punting with any power forward from the Celtics, so I don't understand, because I never said. I'm not especially high on Grant Williams, and not especially high on Blake Griffin, and I'm below the field on Horford. So I don't have an answer because I have some of all of those guys, but none of them are priorities for me, and I don't really think you need to. I think Horford's the most obvious one you might need to play, but there's also a way that doesn't work out. He doesn't need to do much while he's on the court. And I don't expect them to overuse him either, for what it's worth. I just don't know where those minutes are going to go on this first game of the season. My guess is the projection is the backup minutes basically will go to Grant Williams at that and other positions. But it's strange in this matchup with Embiid, because the size, but they don't have somebody else who matches up size-wise with Embiid in any way. Like, I mean, I know you could say nobody matches up with Embiid, but they don't have a particular other guy who stands out even as a possibility. And so I have Horford as a core play, because he's in like half of my lineup. It's still below the field, I think, but he's going to be in half my lineups, and he's projected to be 70% owned almost by some sites anyway. And I just think there's a way it doesn't work, but probably he gis there anyway. Tobias Harris is we know who he is. Completely legitimate play at 5,900. If things go a certain path, he might end up being, he can get himself 40 fantasy points. It's just there's going to be nothing really run for him. You're kind of counting on rebounds and shots, but at his price, of course, he's a guy you want to play. I prefer, at a cheaper price, I prefer Maxey over him, but I think that the field will as well. Yeah, that's where I am.
Are you playing FanDuel today?
This weird thing I'm going to block. What's that?
Are you playing FanDuel today?
Why are you waving at me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you the whole time. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't understand what the problem is.
Are you playing FanDuel today?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just couldn't answer you in the middle of trying to answer these people's questions and trying to put a user who is trying to advertise something in blocking them. But yeah, I'm playing FanDuel. Biggest differences on FanDuel to me. Let me just double check my notes here. I had a few guys on there on my different priority core lists over there. So I'll take a quick look at the value. Oh, Jordan Poole, I think, is more reasonable on FanDuel. Then again, remember, you're not getting 3-point bonus, so it's probably not as good as it looks. I think Jaylen Brown is a better play on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. I think Embiid gets crazy ownership because of his he's 10-7. So I think not playing Embiid is an interesting route. He's probably going to be, I don't know, 75% owned. At least in the big buy-in stuff, he will be, and the other stuff will probably be more like 65. So I don't mind the idea if you want to try to fade Embiid, but that's I guess the biggest things. I think LeBron will get lower ownership on FanDuel, making him, you could argue, a worse GPP player or a better GPP play, depending on which side you're arguing on. I like him a lot still on FanDuel. I like Anthony Davis much less on FanDuel, even though the blocks and steals obviously add up in a much bigger way over there. The 10-1 price, I think once I'm there, I probably just want Embiid instead. If I'm going to spend that much up, if I'm not going to play Embiid, I don't want to turn and play Anthony Davis at almost the same price. Yeah.
I don't think I'm getting Kendrick Nunn on FanDuel.
Yeah. Yeah, the value is a little less necessary. Oddly enough, Lonnie Walker will be much more popular on FanDuel because of the way the pricing is. And he'll be more popular than Reeves by a lot because they're the same price over there, where he's a lot more on DraftKings. A couple other looks at some other guys who are going to be a little higher owned on FanDuel. than they are on DK. That's not right. Okay, let's do that. Yeah, Embiid, Lonnie Walker, Andrew Wiggins will be much more popular on FanDuel. It's a position thing. The guy who's going to get ownership on FanDuel that won't on DraftKings is Kuminga.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting. I mean, these are all the plays that make me kind of feel sick that I feel like I recommend because I'm going for the weirdness. You know what I mean?
Right.
In my opinion, that's the way you can win on these slates. It was Jared Allen off the bench 2 years ago for the Nets that won me the first. I won the first night of the year that night because he was 4% owned because they started DeAndre Jordan for some crazy reason, and he scored the most fantasy points of any player.
Oh, was that right?
Yeah. Other guys we should talk about on DK for weird value. Look, there is no way logically you should think that I don't even know if I could do it. Okay, so the Moses Moody thing, like there is a path in a blowout where he could end up outscoring Kendrick Nunn, but I don't know. Like it just feels so.
I think if you're maxing entering, I think you have to play him.
Oh, if you max enter, you better be playing all these guys that I'm mentioning, at least like some percentage of. And that's what I'm trying to find. I'm just deciding which one of my big buy-ins I want to do that with.
Right.
It is pretty glaring, though, if you see the projected ownership of Kuminga on both sites. Like, if you're really going to tell me he's 30% or 20-some-odd% on one site and he's 2% on the other, then how can he not be a good play on the other?
Well, I mean, someone would say just because of the way positional stuff works, I guess. But
right, but just based on the fact that if he's good enough then for that position on the other side, why isn't he good enough then on DK?
I guess because of multi-position eligibility. I don't know.
No, there's part of it that's the logical answer, but I'm just saying he only has to get there. He only has to outscore the other 4,200 guys, and you play him with other 4,200 guys anyway. So he has to outscore one or two of the guys who you project to outscore. Actually, maybe two or three of the guys.
Right.
And there's totally on the table. You know what I mean? What's up to Justin? I think we answered every other question. So pop in any more if you get there. I'm going to be out of here at the top of the hour, so I can finish my actual builds, and hopefully we'll have a starting lineup. Not that it's going to make a huge difference.
With which one?
It might. The only thing is, like, if the Celtics somehow started Brogdon instead of Derek White, but I don't think they're going to do that.
Well, for those of you who wanted the late hockey projections as close to lock as possible, you're going to get them. Literally can't do any better than this. So it's 7:00 post time. They're going up at 6:50. So there you have it.
Oh, I have another take about the season that I think is important.
Sure.
The cool subject sheets. So I feel like you could get behind me on this. I think the over-unders are going to be way too high. I think the totals are going to be way too high for a while. I think it's going to take a minute to catch up because they're betting on high totals already right off the bat, and you have teams that are absolutely not going to be in top form. Teams that are playing, they're like we said. I don't expect anybody from Golden State to play necessarily more than 28 minutes unless the game's really tight. That like in the last couple minutes. And I think that teams are going to be fiddling around with their, trying to find themselves. And I think there's going to be a lot of tanking teams. Obviously, that's not the case of the teams tonight yet.
Right.
I mean, it won't happen. It won't really happen with any of these teams. But there's just going to be a lot of. I just think the unders are going to be dominant at the beginning of the season.
That's interesting.
And it actually has happened quite a bit. And it's, by the way, you know what it really happens in now without the players playing in the preseason is football. The over-under, the unders have been just crushing this year.
Well, I want to ask you about that. I know we're in basketball mode. I meant to ask you about that today. Why do you think that scoring is down this year in the NFL?
It is.
No, why do you think it is?
Honestly, I can just tell you the football looks worse. I think they're letting people get away with more defensively, a little more physical aggressiveness. And I think that teams were unprepared to start the season, and the quarterbacks look really lost. And I think a lot of teams are sort of not tanking, but they're not like the Bears don't give Justin Fields anything to work with, and they say, oh, he's young, he's going to take him years anyway, so they're not going to make that big. They don't need a big signing, or they get rid of any experienced receiver like Robinson. I just think there's a lot of situations like that.
So you don't think there's anything like macro based, like maybe the defenses have caught up to what the offenses have been doing over the last couple of years or something?
I think there's some of that, but it's partly because the offenses aren't executing it well enough, in my opinion. It's because the advantages are still on the offensive side, but I mean it's still a very quarterback friendly game. It's just they are letting a little more hits. And by the way, they're not calling high hits on quarterbacks nearly as much as they did before. Anything that was happening at all, people were laying up, and now there's just more guys getting hit, and there's more guys getting hurt. Hey, our guy Kobe is back. He's back for NBA. Let's go, man. Let's do it. Huge slate tomorrow. It's going to be wild. Tomorrow, tonight's the night. Get really weird with it. Opening night, and it's a 2-gamer. And tomorrow is going to be a much more thought out, like, okay, we can really make some tough choices because there's going to be so many good plays. I mean, it's going to be a slew of like guys who just look like ridiculous plays. And it's going to be trying to find out which of those 36 is going to make the best combination.
Right.
All right, MJ back too as well. Let's see that they pop back in for people popping back in for basketball.
There are a lot of not a lot, but there's a pretty decent handful of high stakes. I didn't realize this, of high stakes DFS players that just play NBA.
Yeah, I think that it's because it's the most edge. Well, look at your guy. Not your guy, but poker's guy. Look at Haralabob.
Yeah, it requires so much effort too.
Yeah. Oh, we got Dunbar back. Yeah, Merry Christmas indeed. Let's go. Love to have you guys back. By the way, I did post all my early builds. Not much has really changed for some of my early builds. You can see I got weird with some of those lineups, so keep that in mind. I think I'm currently out of my 30 some odd lineups, I'm playing like 20% Russell Westbrook, which is weird. Just trying to find some ways to get different today. But yeah, it should be a fun season, guys. We're really happy to have you back. Pop in any questions or thoughts, because it's one of those slates to get weird with. And I went through all the guys who I liked to get weird with, but I'm sure there's a few other ones you guys could include that I maybe didn't talk about. One of them is Damien Jones. The Lakers are probably going to start AD. They said they were going to do it before. If they change their mind, now this is not the team you change your mind against, but if they change their mind, they start what's his name on the other side? Wiseman. I could see them considering starting Damien Jones. I also could see Juan Toscano-Anderson take his job from Lonnie Walker, even though they said that's probably not what's going to happen. I just think you don't really know. There's a lot of like BS talk before the season, and the weird part is these guys like I just mentioned Juan Toscano-Anderson. Juan Toscano-Anderson wouldn't surprise me if he played like 2 minutes tonight. Okay. And it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up playing like the whole second half after having a good first half. And they struggle with him off the court. I really wouldn't be surprised by any of this stuff. I just think there's a huge range of outcomes for an opening day slate, especially on a Laker team where all these value guys who are going to get played like Walker, Nunn, Beverly, none of them are guaranteed to stay in the game when it matters. And the Lakers, oddly enough, even with their injury history outside of Davis, I don't think anybody's getting protected tonight. I think anybody who's playing well is going to be on the court the most at the end of the game. Obviously, we know LeBron and AD will both be on the court at the end of the game. But that's, it could be Juan Toscano-Anderson with those guys. It could be Russell Westbrook with those guys. It's planned to be anyway with Westbrook closing too. But it could be Kendrick Nunn. It could be Damien Jones. Like, it really could be. It's just a really weird. That's what's sort of fun about it for the multi-entry, factor. And I probably should have just played the 150, because that's all of my ideas today. I don't feel comfortable clicking the button in like the 333, but I feel very comfortable clicking it for $5, like right. A few seconds, all right, guys.
I'm not doing much. I'm not, just so everybody know, I'm not playing much tonight. I'll be ready to fire tomorrow then.
I love it. Tomorrow is definitely a more exciting one, but hoping I can do the thing I did the one year and win the opening day slate where I really shouldn't have.
Where did I won the Yahoo one last year, wasn't it? Or two, maybe.
You won the football one.
No, I remember that, but I think the basketball too. I remember like it was just too small, like a 2-game or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, with some Toronto something or other, I think it was something.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, I guess that'll do it.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot more to add. If there's any questions or
Yeah.
thoughts, I'm sticking around for a minute. Oh, here we go. So Smart, White,
good.
Brown, Tatum, and Horford, which is what we thought. I just wanted to. It's always good to double check, regardless of what they say they're going to do before, and you never know what might happen.
Hey, you can watch NBA live for free at NBAHQTV.com. So where's my affiliate fee?
Yeah, what is that? I know. Like,
I just gave out what the hell? You didn't play the baseball slate, did you?
There was I couldn't, like, when I looked, there was no 2-gamer. All the real
There was.
Was it like a good tournament at any point?
There was a 2-gamer today. I played it. I actually have both pitchers in the 8:00 game.
Oh, okay.
Which is good. I mean, Cortez only ended up with like 13 points, and the Cleveland guy, God knows what he ended up doing. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I did that later game, though. My prediction is that it's a high-scoring game.
Okay.
I think Philly wins for what it's worth. I think that Harper hits a home run, and I think that they win like 9-5.
Okay. Well,
that's my take.
That means that Eric will not be winning. That's for sure.
Well, that could be a weird 9-5.
It could be.
Because I mean, Stanton and Judge hit home runs. Did you have both of them in your lineup? You probably had Stanton, knowing you.
I have Stanton. I do have Stanton.
Makes sense, actually. All right, guys. Well, it's great to see everybody again. We'll be having a lot more active, a lot more interesting shows coming up when we have some more games to talk about. I will be in Discord tonight. Let's try to make some money, everybody. And Sheets, are you good to go?
I'm good to go.
All right. Thanks for getting everything in, Sheets, and good luck to everybody. We will see you guys hopefully